let's get straight into it. Still using our Pandas library, which is what we're talking about, and import Pandas as PD to make sure it is active. And we're going to be using a data set from Australia housing data set. I think it was from an organization similar to like Airbnb, where people register their houses and description of their houses and stuff like that. And people come to like rent houses for a day, 2 days, 3 days, this kind of stuff. So that's the data set, Melbourne CSV. The data is going to be on the drive so that you can also have a look at it. So let's look at the first 5 rows. So if we do the head, you get the first 5 rows as usual. One thing you should notice is that, as you can see, you have some columns here: suburb, address, room, type of house, price, method. And you might have noticed anywhere you see this NAN, it means that that value is missing in that place. So that means there's no value here. So that's what the NAN is showing us. And we can see that there are some dots here. Basically, this is telling us that by default, if you look at your data set, if there are more than 20 columns, it shows you the first 10 and the last 10 and uses dots to signify that there are some columns in between that it's not showing you, but it shows you the first and the last 10. Um, the same way, like now, if I don't do dot head, that means just the whole data set. If the whole data set is more than 10 rows, it will show you only the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows, and it puts some dots to tell you that, oh, there are some rows in between. But you can also see the number of rows. So you see here 23,547 rows and 21 columns. So it means that there are some other columns, rows is not showing here. And also, since there are 21 columns, it means that there's one column that's not showing here because it normally takes the first 20 and the last 20. So if you want to get quick information about the data sets, df.info, that's the dataset.info. And as you can see, it's a data frame from Pandas. It has 223,547 entries, and the entry number starts from 0 to 23,546. So it's counting from 0. So the index starts from 0, and the last index is 23,546. You can see what is saying non-null count. That means the number of rows in each column that has a value inside them. That means they are not empty. So for you to know which one is empty, you see that there are 23,547 rows in each column. So if you have 23,547 here not empty, it means that this column doesn't have any missing value because all the rows are not empty. There is something inside. But like this one, distance has 23,546 not empty, but there are actually 23,547. So it means that there is one that is empty. So there's one row in the distance column that has that is a missing value. But this might be a bit confusing. So there is another way to check for missing values. But you can see the data type of each column here. So object, int. And like I said earlier, um, when you're talking about the pandas data frame, a column that is made up of strings or a combination of strings and numbers is usually referred to as an object. But the others remain the same, like your ints, your floats, and your int and your float. But there are still others. We'll get to see them much, much later. So like I said, there are still other ways of searching for the missing values. This is a better way. So using the .isNull.sum, you can see the number of missing values in each column. So for example, suburb 0, rooms 0, price, we have 5,151 missing values. That means rows that have nothing inside. And you can see that distance that we saw earlier. You can see that there is one missing value here. So like we saw the other time, or it's a more complicated way. Now, another thing that is used to get quick information about your table is describe. This kind of gives a description of every numerical value in your table. So everything numerical. So because it gives things like the counts, the mean, standard deviation, the minimum value, the 25th percentile value, the 50th percentile value, 75th percentile value, and the maximum value. So, for example, we can see count. That means how many rows are in that column. You can see the mean value. You can see standard deviation. You can see, so for only the numerical columns, it just gives you this information for numerical columns. So just quickly getting information about the numerical columns in your column, the describe does that. Now, if you want to see all the columns in your data set, you want to list them out. So we have the f.columns that list out all the columns. So you can see suburb, address, rooms, type, price, method, seller. So these are all the columns available in that data set. And let us see how we can do some quick information grabbing or analysis or extraction from the data set. Let's say we want to get the average price. You want to get the average price. What you can do is to select the column. And how do you select the column? The name of the data set, square brackets, the name of the column, then dot mean to get the price, the average price, and that will give you this value. So you can round everything up. So I can put everything in brackets and I'll put round. So let's say I want to round the whole value because so I can say round this up to, let me say, to decimal place. So you can see I've rounded the whole price dot mean to 2 decimal place. So you can see the value now. Mm, some people can want to like make the result look more this thing. Maybe they want to put a dollar sign in front. So we can use our formatted strings to do that. So I can just say print f and I can print the dollar sign. Then I can put in brackets. Let me assign this to a value. So let me call it average price. So average price is equal to this. So I can now put that average price value here. So let's see. So print the dollar symbol, then taking this average price salary and putting it in the formatted string. So you can see an example of that. Let's say we want to get other things. For example, in categorical columns, you want to get the mode. Numerical columns, you can be talking about mean, you can be talking about median. But in categorical column, you want to know the most occurring category in that column. You can be using mode. So now it's telling us that the reservoir category in that column is the most occurring. Um, but you might say, okay, let me see the other categories in the column and how many times they occur. And to do that, they use what we call the values counts. The values counts. So in the suburb category, you can see that reservoir is the highest, and it normally arranges it from the highest to the lowest. So you can see reservoir is the highest, followed by event EE, followed by, so you can see how many times each of these categories appear in that column. So this is the values counts. So for example, you can have a column of gender, male and female. You want to know how many times the male appear in that column, how many times female appear in that column. So the same thing, same values count will work in that instance. Um, you can quickly convert this to a table. Um, so I can assign this to a variable. Let me call it suburb count, so sub underscore count. And instead of just saying suburb.values count, I will add another extra command saying to frame. And by doing that, you can see that if I run it and I run this sub underscore count now, the result is like a table, a data frame, which I can work with now. So this is something that can come in very handy. You can quickly convert from something looking like this to something looking like a table like this. And now you can do more analysis with this. One thing you should note is that it converts this first result here to be the index. As you can see, there's no index number. So this is the index. So if you want to maybe extract only this information, that is the names of the suburbs, it would be sub underscore count dot index. Okay. No, sorry, no need to put this. So you can see because there's no index number now, so it took this as put it as the index. So you have only one column, and the different suburb names are the is used as an index. So let's see how we can do some filtration or filtering in pandas. Um, for example, if somebody says, I want to filter this whole data set, but for only suburbs that are in the Richmond area. So I want to get the whole data set, but only Richmond area data set I want to get. So this is basically it. And like I said, normally you want to do logic first. So I normally encourage people that first of all, the logic, that you can now do the filtering. First of all, get the logic. So the logic is I want to filter the data set to get only suburbs in the Richmond area. So the first thing you want to do is to put the logic suburbs in Richmond area. So we'll say from the data set, get me the suburbs, the suburb column, and I want in the suburb column only those in the Richmond area. So this is the logic. Suburb that is Richmond. Good. Then so filter, I'll just put all of them in a square bracket and I'll put the data set I want to filter. So I say filter the data set df based on this logic. And you can see, I hope I got the spelling right. Okay, suburb, I didn't spell it well. What's the spelling? Sometimes to avoid, okay, no R. But so you can see only Richmond area in the data set is showing us only Richmond area. You can see that only 416 rows is giving you out of your whole data set. But it gives you the whole columns, but only the rows that have Richmond as the suburb. So that's how filtering um, works. But you can filter by more than one condition. So let's say you want to see more than one suburb. You want to see maybe Richmond and another suburb in the same column. So you can use the OR filtering. So it's just that each logic has to be in its own brackets. So I'll delete this to do it manually first of all. So I can put a first logic. I'll say df um, suburb. So this is the first logic. The first suburb should be Richmond. So I want to get all the suburbs in both the Richmond. So this is the first logic. Then I'll use a pipe. Yeah, that's the word. In the class, I was trying to remember the word. So this is called the pipe. I'll use the pipe to say or. So I want to get in the, so I'll put a bracket for the second logic. So this pipe is representing the or symbol. So I'll say for the suburb in, I use Q in the class, so let me use the same place. So For that suburb column, it's only going to bring us information from either Richmond or the Q area. And I'm now going to use this whole logic. I'll put all of them in a square brackets, and I'll use the square bracket logic to filter the whole data set. So as you can see, our data now is, sorry, it's this one we're working with. So it's only things in the Q or the Richmond suburb. So if you want to do any further analysis only on this subset of data, you can assign a variable name to this subset of data so that you can now be working on that subset anytime you want to. Good. So, now we have, if you want to filter from multiple columns, based on condition of multiple columns, um, you can use um, the and. So instead of using the pipe that represents or, and is like you want both conditions to be true. So you can also actually use the pipe even if you're using multiple columns. But if you're working in the same column, like when we did this one, if you want to get two different categories from the same column, you have to use the pipe from the same column. You can't use and, because in the same column, one value can be both Q and Richmond because there are two different categories in that table. So you're saying, give me from this column the values that are either Richmond or either from Q suburb. So, but so when we are filtering from multiple columns, we can still use the either or use the and depending on what we want when we are doing from multiple columns. If we want that both conditions are true, that means, for example, I want suburbs in the Q region and the number of rooms that are greater than two. So it will only give me suburbs in the Q region with houses that have more than two rooms. So that's only when those conditions are true will it give me the data sets. So if you see that now, that is and. So if I run it, you're going to see that that's what I have here. Suburb is Q, rooms 3. So the rooms are always more than 2 because that's what I said here. And the suburb is Q. So both conditions are always true. And that's what it will give me. But if you use or when you're doing for two different columns, what you're saying is if either of those conditions are true, give me that row. So it is either rooms is more than 3, it will give you the row, or so like now you can see that rooms more than 3 here, but the region is not Q, but it still gave us because the rooms is more than 3. It can give us the region in Q that the rooms are not more than 3, can be just 1 or thereabouts. So as far as both conditions are met, and it will also give us rooms where both conditions are met. So the pipe representing the or will give you it will give you the data when either of the condition is met or both of them are met. That's what it's going to give you. But when you're using and, you're saying both conditions have to be true, have to be met for it to give you that information. So I gave an assignment. I said filter the same data set by these conditions, where number of room is 2, suburb is not, remember I said is not Abbotsford, and the price of the house is greater than a million. So this is your assignment. So filter on these 3 conditions. So let us see the information you're able to get. So let's move on. Let's move on now. Let's look at grouping by. So take for example, I want to do, what we call bivariate analysis. You want to analyze a column based on that column. So for example, I want to see how the region affects the price. So what is the average price per region, or what is the total price per region? I'm going to do a group by. So I'm going to say group the pricing based on region. That's what the group by is saying. Group the pricing based on the region. So aggregate the pricing based on the region. And when you're doing a group by, so the first thing you put is the categorical column. So what is it based on? So we are doing based on region, group price. The price is the numerical, the region is the categorical. So you are saying group pricing based on region. So let me do this first of all. And you're going to now determine how you want the grouping to be done for the price. Do you want it to find the average price for each region, or the sum for each region, or the standard deviation for each region, or the maximum for each region, or the minimum for each region? That's what you're going to specify here. So in this case, we just want the mean. And if I do that, I get this information. And you just put it in exponential. So this is like 1.1 times 10 raised to the power 6 and thereabouts from the highest. No, just groups it randomly. But we can convert this to a data frame by saying to frame. And you'll notice that I put a backward slash here. That is because I didn't want to continue on the same line so that it will not be too long. So the backward slash is like telling Python that I'm not done with this code. So even though I'm going to a new line to continue, still take it as part of the same code. So see, this does the same thing. But because I don't want it to be too long, I can put a backward slash here and press enter. So this like take it to a new line so that it's not too long and still does the same thing. So you can see I added the to frame. I also added the sort values from our previous class. So I say sort by price. So we can see from the highest price to the lowest price. And here we have that information. So this is the group by this thing is a very easy distance to use. You might okay, somebody might say, oh, remember I told you that your room can also be in a way considered as categorical, the number of rooms, because you have a two-bedroom apartment, three-bedroom apartment. So you have to really think critically about a column. It doesn't matter if it's a number written in it. It can represent a categorical value. For example, gender can be represented with numbers like 0 and 1. So in that case, you know that it's not just numbers. That is representing a category. So, for example, now I can want to see the average price based on the type of room. So I can say the f dot group by. So I want to, based on the rooms, I want to group the price column, and I want to do the mean, and I want to put it to a frame, and do I want to sort? I want to sort values by price column. So you can see that on an average, okay, let me make it, this is in, by default, ascending order, it is sorting. So let me make it from in descending, that is from highest to lowest. So I'll say ascending equals to false. And this is why I added it to a new line the other time, because it was getting too long. So I'll do the same thing here. So you notice the point where I added, where I wanted to put a new additional distance. So instead of dot sort, so I just in that point. So you can't just do it anyway. So good. So you can see that on an average, 12-bedroom apartments cost more, which makes sense, followed by the 10-bedroom apartments, followed by 8, followed by 6. But you can see that 5-bedroom apartment on an average is even more expensive than the 7-bedroom apartment. And you can see that 9 bedroom apartments goes all the way here, which is the fourth cheapest, which is quite strange. But the cheapest, as is expected, is the 1 bedroom apartment. So you see how you can quickly get information based on the group by bivariate analysis combining two columns together. So in a categorical column, you might want to look at the different categories. You know, when we are doing the count values, we are looking at how many times each category occur. Where did we do that again? Yes. So this is the number of times each category occur. Or you might just want to see the different categories that are there in the data set without seeing how many times they occur. And for that, you do unique. So you're saying, what is the unique categories? That means every category that was mentioned at least once in this column, list them out for me. So that's what the unique does. But if you just want to know the number of the categories in that column, you use n unique. So that's number of unique. That's what it stands for. And so, and I also showed you, I think the last thing I showed you was that you can quickly convert um a a result of your analysis to a table. For example, when we do this our values count, you can see that it has given us the for the rooms, the number of occurrence in that data set. So we have more 3 bedrooms, then 2 bedrooms, then 4 bedrooms. So this is the number of times the different rooms, type of rooms occur in the room and column. So we have only two 12 bedroom and so so we want to put this in a data set. So we'll first of all put it to a frame. So you say to frame. See, so it's in a frame now. And now that it's in a frame, we can now put it to a plot. So I can now say dot plot, and I can say what kind of chart do I need? I want a bar chart. So you can see that it has quickly plotted a bar chart from that data that we got earlier. So you might want to put it as a pie chart, but um, I'm not sure I would be the one taking you on visualizations. But if I'm the one taking you on visualizations, I might show you how to do more, not just simplistic ones. There are packages meant for visualizations where you can get more things. So, okay, pie chart is a different thing. Pie chart needs okay. Okay. Let me not go into that. It might be a bit confusing. But when we're talking about matplotlib, because what Pandas does is that it has a bit of matplotlib in it, and so it uses that to plot some basic charts for you. There are some other complexities when you're doing things like pie charts because pie charts doesn't just work. You have to specify what the numerical value is, just for what the categorical value is. That's what we call the auto pact for specifying percentages and decimal placing and the rest. So by the time you're doing visualizations, we'll get into that in more in-depth formats. So this is just some of the things in Pandas that you need to know before you go further. And remember, I told you to install a package also. I said you should install Streamlit. Um, I'll just put the notes here. I'll say, please install the Streamlit package. Good. So the Streamlit package for you to install it, um, what you just need to do is to open your terminal. So go to your Explorer, Um, on any file you're working on currently, just right click on it, click on open in integrated terminal. Close this. So the first thing you want to do is to do conda activate base. So mine is already activated by default, but yours most likely. So know whether your own is activated, you should be seeing base here. So, but if yours is not activated, you have to do this conda activate base. Then press enter. Then your base environment should be activated on your terminal so you can see it's here on the base. So the next thing you should do is just to do pip install stream light and press enter. Remember, you have to be on the internet for this because it's downloading the package from the pip repository. That is where every package that people create for Python is stored. It's going to download that package and install on your system. So press enter, and when it is done installing, you would know because it will revert back to this your base, stuff like this. So after installing, it will revert back to this. So just be patient with it. It doesn't take much time. If your internet is fast, it probably take like or minutes or two to install. So and once it's finished installing, you're good to go. So I think that's all for what we did on Saturday. So thank you very much, and please endeavor to go through this as much as possible. Practice, give yourself work to do. So give yourself analysis based on what you have done. Say, okay, what if I want to do this and do this? Give yourself scenarios. It will improve your reasoning and your usage of the programming language a lot. Give yourself scenarios, give yourself stuff to do, ask yourself questions and try to answer them. What if I want to do this and do this? And try and apply all the things that we have been doing. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.